Today we're replacing the primary and secondary heat exchanger on this Coleman furnace. This process would be the same for some York and some Evcon units. Quite a bit of this actually has to come apart in order to pull the heat exchanger, and I actually have not done one of these exact ones before. So, unlike my other two heat exchanger videos, this one we're going to be kind of learning as we go. So you can see it was definitely producing soot. Just cut the exhaust pipe, and we're going to go through here. Not sure why this is not mounted, but we're going to go through here and pull the combustion blower, detach the entire wiring harness, and disconnect the collector box. So here I pulled out the screws holding the manifold, and I'd already disconnected the gas line. Then I went ahead and pulled the pressure switch tubes and pressure switches, and then I pulled out the screws on the draft inducer so I could get that out. Had to disconnect the electrical so I could pull the whole wiring harness off to the side, and then pulled the burner box and pulled out the screws that hold the collector box in place. So you can see I removed the burner box, blower, and the gas valve and that whole assembly, and you can just kind of unhook this here, and you can leave the wires pretty much hooked up to everything. I did disconnect the wires from the rollout switches so that I could remove the burner box separately, but all that can kind of sit here out of the way. Looking at this, you can see it was sooting up badly. Of course, anytime you see soot, it means there was incomplete combustion, some issue with the airflow or the gas flow. In this case, the exchanger failed due to poor choice in materials, and I'll show exactly what failed later on in the video. Wow. Oh wow, look at that. These pieces are the turbulators or baffles, and they slow down the exhaust gas. So there's 3 screws up this side, 3 screws down this side, and then you have to remove the 4 screws along the top and the 2 in the front in order to get this loose. And then from the bottom, there's one here, one in the middle, and one over here. We still have to take out the one in the middle, and then you do have to remove the limit switch, and then you can just grab it with a channel lock right here and pull it out once everything else is out of the compartment. But yeah, look how bad this looks. Very old junk. So with all those removed, it's up here that we can get this out of here. I actually already took out the screw here and there. So, how we knew it was bad in addition to the soot was evidently this piece on the older ones is galvanized, which that's clearly the case. You can see how it rotted through in the back. And on the new one, it's stainless steel. So that's good that they actually did upgrade the new part. You're not just putting in the same exact thing that's going to fail. But when this isn't stainless steel, that surface in there gets eaten away, the galvanized coating, and then the steel, you can see it is hot, so the galvanized coating basically does nothing. And then once this rust starts getting stuck in the secondary heat exchanger tube turbulators, it slows down the exhaust gas, you don't get enough air through the system, it starts producing soot, and then it's just like a compounding effect that kills the whole heat exchanger. So when I looked at this furnace the other day, the tech I talked to said, "Can you see any spots of moisture back behind the blower?" See right back there? There's some rust. He said that probably is an indication that the heat exchanger is bad. Which, yeah, you can see it's been leaking in here, even leaving some soot, which is kind of scary because this was producing a lot of carbon monoxide in addition to having actual holes in the heat exchanger. So yeah, it is definitely bad. So there is a piece of fiberglass with a sticky tape that you pull off, and install on the bottom of here. We'll have to just be careful to not scrape it off as we're sliding it back into the furnace. The new heat exchanger just slides in the same way as the old one slides out, and then you just kind of do reverse order of everything that you did to get it out of there. One thing positive I can say about this unit is it is actually really easy to replace the heat exchanger compared to like a carrier furnace. The carrier furnaces don't have the primary and secondary heat exchangers put together right out the gate. So with this having the primary and secondary already put together, it saved a lot of time. We did also replace the control board on here because we were having a flame sensor error. So there we are, all good to go. Hopefully this secondary and primary heat exchanger will last longer than the first because this system's actually only 6 years old. It seems like we've noticed the propane systems go through heat exchangers a lot faster for whatever reason. Propane's a little more corrosive, it seems like, so I'm glad to see that they actually did improve the new secondary heat exchanger. Well, secondary and primary, but still kind of inconvenient to say the least. Hopefully it won't be like I have to do 300 of these in the next 5 years, but who knows.